people. Like, if you go watch that video, that's very old. That was even before we sent out Voyager, so that was before 1977. And there's a 3-hour Christmas special that he did that I found on YouTube. And he has the Japanese cultural music. It's one of the oldest pieces ever written. And he has it playing in the background while he's doing this Christmas special.
Right, I think he said it went out on Voyager.
It's a way of showing people science without shitting on their cultural beliefs, right? And I think that's what people got to do is, instead of confronting people and saying, oh, you're just full of shit, just show them what we know, and either they're going to accept it or not. And that's the way people are, right?
Well, how do you show somebody, how do you insinuate the idea that we are living in a holographic, pixelated universe based on the Stanford quantum mechanics professor's work, and and at the same time deal with people that you know, walk around their 3D reality with a full assumption that it's not something that's completely knowable in a way. I mean, in other words, when you get to certain perspectives, you're still going to get a difference. When you get to certain paradigms, you're still, you know, like you said, you show them what you know, but even what we know has different perspectives in it.
Exactly, and that's why I don't discount any. And if you look at what Sagan says, you know, he entertained aliens and stuff like that. Every wacky theory that someone comes up with, you never know where it's going to lead. And if you look at the past science, it's always been these people that were so skeptical of the ideas, and yet a lot of them have come true, right? So, I mean, everyone thought quantum mechanics was just bullshit, and yet 1/3 of the world runs on quantum mechanics, right?
Well,
the computer we're talking over is, my voice is traveling through this wire, through the internet, at the speed of sound, or at the speed of light, and it works. I mean, whether we want to believe it or not.
Well, is that the same thing as saying electricity is quantum mechanical? Because the only thing that I know about quantum mechanics, the only thing that I read that functions on quantum mechanics was a security device that basically it said that it runs and they know when there's a breach because one of the photons is not, I think it's a photon, one of the photons is not in the end product, the end reader, and so they know that somebody's viewed the data, someone's breached the data because it's lost a photon. The electrical current has lost a photon or a photon strain, something like that. And that's the only thing that I know of that works on quantum mechanics. I don't know what else does. If you know, feel free to speak.
Half the world you're surrounded by right now. I mean, that's what I mean, is that a lot of these, you know, computers run on it. Now, they're not quantum computers where they're actually using atoms, because that's what, but quanta is nothing more than just a packet of light. I mean, when you bust it down. And what's weird, this is what's odd, and this is where the holograph universe came from, right? Is when you look at matter, and when they put the particle collider together and we started blasting different atoms at each other. First, I told you, started off with a bigger atom like hydrogen and shit like that. And then they found out, hey, inside the hydrogen is nothing more than electrons. So maybe everything is made up of electrons. And that's why I told you finding the Higgs boson was so important, because the Higgs boson is a field. And without that field, right now, we would have never formed. So material would still be moving at the speed of light from the Big Bang, right?
Well, if we're all electrons, isn't it already always moving at the speed of light?
We're macroscopic animals, so we're made up of electrons at the very tiny scales, and that's what they're trying to figure out. But no matter how you look at it, when you take a bunch of molecules and put it together, it's not like me and you are ever going to be able to walk through walls like electrons do, right? It's just not going to happen. But when you look at black holes and you look at the Big Bang and how everything was hot and dense for 300 million years, there was no star. So imagine that, when the universe started, right? So I checked this out. I was right. It made mostly hydrogen, like 25% helium, and a little bit of lithium, and a minuscule amount of deuterium.
Okay.
And that's it. And when they take their telescopes out and they point in between the galaxies and they look at the gas, and this was predicted, right? Oh, there should be this much amount of hydrogen out there if the Big Bang happened. And when they do it, and these were all predicted ahead of time, and this is it seems to look like we almost came out of a black hole. You know what I'm saying? To me, it does. Now, but my brain is weird. I mean, I know that you know how you think you're out there? I'm out there too, but I've never had the experiences you did, like humanistic, like ghostly appearances like that. But when I look, that's why I was sending you that video, is that when you look at what we found in science, it is mysterious. It is amazing. It blows your mind away to the point where ghosts almost seem, and I'm not, like I'm saying, I'm not discarding other people's experiences. I just never had it happen to me. But it just seems lame, you know?
That's fine. That's fine. But the thing is when I was watching that holographic universe video, the Stanford quantum mechanics professor video, and he said the universe is pixelated as opposed to voxelated, voxelated being a three-dimensional pixel. He says, well, voxels are broken down into pixels. And basically, it sounded as if you could make planular everything that we consider three-dimensional. And when I was listening to that, I sat there and I thought, what would it mean if we are planular? And he even used the black hole as the plane. The black hole is a perfect example of a plane that one could pass through. And you're not certain what's on the other side of this plane, but there's, he did talk about heat, how heated up it was. But I did sit there and I thought, what would be wrong with speaking about breaches in this holographic universe? And that justifies my experiences.
Well, that's what's weird, is that when you look at whatever, now this is another thing that I found out that I was not wrong about. We know what gravity is. Einstein put us on a direction.
Do we?
But we're missing something there, right? Because if it is a fabric and it is stretching and it's speeding up, what's going to happen in the future? Is there going to become some kind of tear in this fabric? Could it rip? Could we go to the big rip instead of the big freeze? Because they see the supernovas, they're speeding up, and they measured these things, I think, 20-something years ago, right? And all of a sudden, these supernovas in some of the same galaxies, they're speeding up, and they have no idea why, and they call that dark energy. And it should just be called the expansion of space, or some kind of negative pressure that's pushing all the galaxies apart, except for the ones that are in our vicinity. But I took something totally different from the video than you did, right? So the way I understood that video with the holographic universe was the way they think about time and space. And each point in time, you can almost look out at space and lay out a three-dimensional grid. And on each corner of each point in space, you'll have a clock. And they're so far apart that they're all different times. So our past, present, and future might all still be out there in space, right?
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea quite a bit but that's kind of like.
And that's what they don't. See, that's what I got from that video, because there's something really weird with space-time that they don't really comprehend all the way. Time is almost like gravity is just the warpage of massive objects on the fabric of space. It seems like time is somehow tied to that, because the faster you go to speed of light, the slower your time is going to go. Now, what does that tell you? Something is very fundamental with the speed of light. You know, we might not be able to go back in time, but if we were able to go out in a spaceship and take a trip around a black hole and come back, the Earth would be like, everyone you'd know would be gone. And you'd only be gone like 10 years if you were traveling at almost the speed of light.
Only.
And you'd come back in like 50 years, and everyone you know would be, it'd be like 100,000 years later.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. I think a lot of people are caught up on that video.
And the thing is, now here's the bitch of that. They've tested that, and it's true, right?
Well, I know that they put pellets or large cylinders out in space and started a rotation, a timed rotation on them, and had them orbit the planet, and they have clocks mapping them, and they showed that they were aging at, it was either a faster or a lesser amount of time they were aging or spinning.
You're talking about the satellites. You know, if you ever use the GPS satellite in your car, they go around the Earth, and if they do not, like, because they're moving at 17,500 miles an hour and you're sitting still, if they didn't take into the relative motion of that and the speed at which they're moving, your GPS would be off by, you know, you could drive off a cliff somewhere. It could be off, you know, a mile or two, instead of being off 20 feet now.
I just don't know if that's considered quantum mechanics in action, or if that's just regular, you know, Newtonian calculus in action.
Just electricity is quantum mechanics, right?
Well, I don't know. You say right there, and I don't know whether or not I can agree with that.
Because electricity is a field. It's a field. Think about what a field is.
I'm painting a field.
All right, you want to do something that'll amaze you? Just take a power cord from your wall and plug it in, pass electricity through it, and then take a compass and put it next to the cord on either side, and your compass will actually turn, because there's a field that's coming out of the wire through the shielding and all, and it is almost like I mean, and that was the, oh God, who the hell was that? That was the Quaker who figured that out. Oh God, the story of electricity. I was going to watch it the other day, but that's when it first started. When they first found out that electricity was a field, and then when Einstein found out that light can, you know, come in packets of quanta, or it can come in a wave, and that's the two-slits experiment. Well, it turns out they found out that light's a wave until you look at it. So our looking at it changes, because when you're looking at a particle of light, you've got to bounce light off of it, so it affects it. But it seems that everything in the universe seems to be fields.
There was something.
And that's where the math is going, at least, right?
Well, I think the math goes in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and experiments too. They showed the background, the fluctuations in the background. Shit, I cannot remember. See, this is where I'm bad. The background fluctuations of quantum, the particles that come in and out of existence, right?
Like a radiation.
So I told you. Yeah, they put it two plates. They machined them so close that you couldn't even fit an atom in between there. And they put it in a vacuum, and it turned out the plates got pushed together, and it's from the bubbling of particles that are on the outside of the plate, and it pushed the plates together. So that was a real experiment that was done that sort of showed there's this bubbling going on in front of your face, in back of your head, all over the place. To me, I think it's the leftover, whatever the radiation is from the Big Bang. Now, what that is, I don't know.
Yeah, but why would you speculate that then?
Because I can't think of anything else, because I have a human brain. And I know I'm not smarter than these scientists, right? And if they're coming up with holographic universes, right? Because Leonard Susskind, he thinks that we're in a one-dimensional universe and we're being projected in 3D off of the information inside the disk of a black hole.
Right. That's what I meant by the idea that we're in a one-dimensional universe that's pixelated into 3 dimensions, into multi-dimensions.
And that's Suskind's theory, where, and the thing is, the math actually goes there. And it also shows that there's a bunch of different dimensions all around us.
Well, there should be infinite dimensions, because a dimension is just a perpendicular line drawn through the previous dimension, a mathematical perpendicular.
I was thinking about doing a video on this the other day, just to show people how amazing the universe is that we live in, right? Like I got this from the Sagan Cosmos series. I believe it was number 8, travels in time and space. And what if we lived in only 2 dimensions? You would have to either go around everything or go through it, right? You wouldn't be able to go over anything or under. Everything would be 2-dimensional. There would be no sides whatsoever. So you'd have no height. But yet we don't live in that universe. We live in 3 dimensions. And that kind of is odd when you think about it. Now, what are these 3 dimensions? I don't know. It's a bunch of space.
Well,
and the thing is, we don't know what space is exactly.
Well, I think we also do live in 1 and 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, and if you talk about 4th dimension being time, moving of the 3 dimensions, then I mean, I almost want to say we live in as many dimensions as there are. It's just that we only intersect 3 or 4 dimensions. And I think, you know, it's almost weird just to talk about one's psychology, one's thought, the idea of your eye projecting protons onto the object that it's staring at, not just receiving protons, but projecting protons. And I think Susskind brought that up also, which is very peculiar, because that's kind of a type of creation. If your eye is projecting.
It's definitely the kind of video you got to watch over and over again in order to grasp the concept, because I admit I don't know that math, and you know, I'm listening and just taking it in, and
well, I wasn't saying, yeah.
I'm willing to entertain it, a lot of ideas. We don't know, and that's why I say people that believe in God or something like that. I believe the future is going to be like that. It isn't going to be people that believe in God and want to push it on you. It's going to be people that believe in God but yet want to see if he's out there somewhere, right?
Right, right. Well,
They're
you
gonna,
know, my experiences have made me, I mean, ultimately, because I cannot define them and describe where they come from, and it appears as if it's a fissure in the three-dimensional reality, you know, and I feel interactive in a psychological manner with elements of my regular day-to-day space and time differently than I did before. I'm a theist now because I can't generate any other means other than that this is a super type of intelligence, or it's a super type of realm. It's a realm that's bigger. And by granting a bigger realm, another dimension of thought, I grant, if we're planular, like if we're one dimension and this is a higher dimension that's going on, then that to me forms, in my mind at least, a hierarchy that would lead to uh, something that would be, I don't know, I can't say it's hierarchical, but it might be linear, it might be parallel, but all I know is it's other than, and so this other thanness, I grant a theos to it, and that theos is my new spirituality. It's where I start and stem my beliefs from. So I don't expect anyone else to really understand it. Well, I bumped into a few people that I can talk to about it, but
so you think of the universe as like a deity, sort of, and the thing is, you know, I really don't. I don't discount that. I mean, when you look at the universe, somehow, in some way, I mean, it made life, you know, no matter how we like it. Um, Stars make organic material. It definitely came up with life. Even if me and you have different thoughts and beliefs, I still, you know, I look at the stars and I know that they're my mother and father. They were the ones that gave birth to the ashes, that gave birth to the atoms that made my body.
sure. Even that should make you awe and wonder of the possibility of things that could be out there.
And that's just it. Is if the, see where I find my thing almost, I don't know. I find it almost amazing because in my realm, I don't think there is a God, right? Because I don't think that he would have started life off the way it did on this planet, you know. Although who the hell knows?
Well, see,
But
then you turn into an agnostic, right? When you say who the hell knows.
well, that's what I don't know. That's just it. I am an agnostic. You can call me an agnostic. I guess atheist, right? I
Right.
don't believe that there's a higher being, but the thing is that no matter what I want to believe, if the evidence came to pass where it showed me wrong and there was some kind of higher being out there, I wouldn't deny it. The thing is that stars, it's like the stuff that our bodies are made out of. It's like the most common chemicals out there. We, when you look at the way chemistry works, like it's just, it's like almost poetry, right? And then you know, I also see the horror in life, like Amendum does, right? I see the suffering. I think life is almost like the way Anakantavad sees it. There's good and bad, right? In all, you know, I've suffered. I've had good days and bad days, but somehow I do believe that this universe makes life. And stars make the organic material that mixes it all up.
Yeah, okay, and I have absolutely no problem looking at things that way either and saying, yeah, that sounds good. You know? So, gotta put this on high, Rose.
I don't see humans as anything special. Like, when you look at what whales can do, and you look at what bats can do, and you look how rattlesnakes can see in thermal, in heat, right? Pit vipers. Uh, there's some birds now that can see in ultraviolet. We can't see that. I mean, it's some of the animals on this earth are, if not just as evolved, I'd say even more so.
Oh, well,
at least in their senses, not in their tool making.
Yeah, I mean, they're
That's
as evolved. They've evolved alongside us, so they're evolved.
Yeah, and we don't. Well, we have been shitting on our old people lately, but we usually take care of the old, whereas out in nature, well, we're seeing it in nature too. Even the great apes are, there's a lot of, when we were evolving, we buried our dead, 200,000 years ago with like beads and stuff. So there was definitely ritualistic beliefs there. And that was hundreds of thousands of years ago.
And do you think that that came before language, during language? Because I believe it came during the manifestation of first oral communications.
Yeah, I believe it all. It was probably all happening at once. They know that those lakes where we lived around in Africa, the Rift Valley, there was a lake that was coming in there, freshwater lake that was huge, and then it was leaving, and it was coming and going like every 5,000 years, and that forced us to adapt or die off, and that's when we developed probably. I believe scientists think that click. You ever heard of the click languages in Africa?
Yeah.
The Bushmen of the Kalahari. They well, they found out that's an old language, and it turns out animals can't hear that when you're hunting. And if you look at Göbekli Tepe, which is our oldest settlement that we ever found, and it's dated about 10,000 years ago, we worshipped the animals we hunted back then. The leopard, you know, they have birds and stuff carved into stone, and that's 10,000 years ago.
Oh yeah.
That's when we domesticated wheat. So even science pushed back the pyramids by another 5,000 years, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, when I was in Egypt, they said these pyramids are closer or further from the date of Christ than you are. Just the pyramids, and the pyramids came in like a middle kingdom of Egypt, like in the eighth out of 20 different dynasties, and they date back, the oldest dynasty as being about 26,000 years.
Yeah, and we lost all that history and knowledge, man, because you know where it was kept? The Library of Alexandria.
Well, that's a little bit after, and I mean, there's still plenty of artifacts.
But the thing is, think about the Library of Alexandria. They had police there, right? When you pulled in with a boat, they searched your boat, not for drugs or anything, but for books, and they would copy them. And any book in the old world, no matter if it was religious or anything, they copied it, and that was our first. And there was a book written by a bishop called Berosus, right? And it was the beginning of time up until the flood, and it was burnt in the Library of Alexandria, right?
Why do you think there's so many flood mythologies out there? Great flood. I mean, I believe there are great floods. I can't say there's one that covers the whole planet, but
well, because you know the Mediterranean Sea?
Yeah.
If you look at the pathway there, we know that that was dry at once, and all of a sudden the ocean burst through there, right? You can go look at like Google Earth on the map and see how tiny that little gap is. What is that? The Rock of, not the Rock of Gibraltar. I'm thinking of somewhere else. The Strait of something. Oh, I can whip it up in a second. I mean, I have the worldwide telescope. So.
Kind of like in my neck of the woods in Salt Lake City, there was a greater lake that was called Lake Bonneville that was bigger than all of the Great Lakes combined that was in this area, and they have geological strata to show it. So that flood is evidence.
There was a big ice dam that was
I shouldn't call it
up north by Washington State. Right. They had a big flood because there was glacier. It was during the last ice age. There was it was called Lake Missoula.
Well, there's Missoula, Montana.
Yeah, and the thing is, it overflowed into the Grand Canyon, and that's how the Grand Canyon was carved. Within about, I think, like a couple million years, 5 million years.
Mm. See, the whole idea of being in a digital, one-dimensional, two-dimensional universe that projects itself in 3 dimensions, a pixel as opposed to a voxel, it almost seems as if time could wrap upon itself and re-interact, like the past and the present mix together, and this notion of presence, the present, is kind of the myth is the present in a way. It's almost as if we are living only in the past or in the future, but it's a hard sell to say we don't live in a present. But what I'm getting at is there's like this slippage. It feels as if there's this slippage, not through time, but through space.
Yeah.
And it's...
You got it.
Yeah, and I'm just not certain how to...
You know what that is, right? You know why every second passes by and there's no way to... And like I said, we could retard that if we were able to move fast. But the thing is, we're stuck on a rock that's going around a sun. And the reason why every second is a little bit older than the last second, and we're almost living in this, like you said, it's almost like, okay, that second's gone. And it's the Big Bang, right? If it wasn't for the Big Bang, we would not be passing time at all.
Well,
because we're moving through this fabric of space, which is tied to the fabric of time, right? Because the faster you can move through space, the slower your time goes. It's really hard to understand, but once you get it, when you understand that you are flying along on this carpet of time brought forth by the Big Bang, it is amazing.
Well, what do you think about the 88 miles an hour from Back to the Future in the, gigawatts that have to be produced to slow time down? You think that's got any scientific practicality to it?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, if you look 100 years ago, anything is possible. That's why I say encourage the children. Because if you look at Einstein, you look at most of the scientists that made great breakthroughs, it happened in their 20s, right? You do great thinking when you're younger for some reason. Your mind, like I said, your mind is open more, right? So I'm looking at the strait right here. It's a Strait of Gibraltar, all right? So that was shut off at one time. And there was no Mediterranean Sea, right? And the Strait of Gibraltar was broken open. Now, the Mediterranean Sea, they have evidence of that flooding over and over, maybe 3 or 4 times of that sea coming in. Now, imagine your camp set up there, right? And all of a sudden, you would think the whole world is, that's not a small, sea if you look at it, right? The Mediterranean Sea is bigger than Italy. It runs all along Spain, all the way to Turkey. And the Fertile Crescent is where Göbekli Tepe is. It's right in the south of Turkey, right?
Okay.
It's right next Sanlurfa or something like that. I was looking at it the other day, and we built in these circles. And they also, next to the animals, check this out. Now here, this is going to play to you. They built these people with no faces. So they put arms on them, they put like a body and legs, but no faces. So they're faceless beings.
Okay.
They carved that at Göbekli, I can't say the goddamn word, Göbekli Tepe.
That's a great name. I'd like to be ancient pronouncing Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah, it's a bitch, especially for me, because, like I said, I am not philosophically inclined at all.
Oh, I
Although
disagree with that.
I'm trying to be more articulate. You know I could be if I tried, right? I'm not a total dumbass.
Well,
You know?
you're good fodder for thinking philosophically. I mean, I wouldn't talk to you about theories of language or anything like that, but I don't, well, maybe I could, you know?
No. Dude, I'm dyslexic. What do you want? Yeah, I was, shit. Let's see. In kindergarten, after the nurse had ripped my ear, they found out I was dyslexic, so I went to Keene College for a whole year. And I sat with a bunch of college girls that showed me picture cards and words and how to sound out words and read sentences. And so I'm lucky they caught it that early, but I just wish it didn't happen the way it did. And if I would have applied myself more, I mean, really, I could have probably been anything I wanted.
Well, that goes for any of us.
I had such an energy in me back then. I mean, oh, jeez.
You need to take that. Feel free to go ahead. This video, I don't even know how long it is right now. 37 minutes. It's a good time for a coffee break. Yeah, what do you do when everything that you listen to has you feeling like you're in a God-centered universe? What do you do next when your skepticism becomes secondary?
When what? You cut out?
Oh, I was saying, what do you do when you feel like you've landed in a God-centered universe and your skepticism becomes secondary? It's more of just an open question I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just it. I don't see any gods. Like, gods would not have made me a primate. At least.
Well, what does that mean?
Like I said, a deity. You know, somehow we're in a petri dish, something like that, maybe.
Well, consider this idea. Consider the idea.
No, I don't believe in Yahweh at all.
Consider this idea. There's an idea like, okay, here's a hologram that your individual self gets to live in, and in that hologram, you get to decide what to do and move through it and become what you'll become. And before you enter that black hole, that hologram, which is this black hole, to become this being, you're a bodiless entity. You're a soul floating in space, and you choose to enter that hologram as the being that you are. And you do that prior to, on a timeline prior, or the extant of you're doing it at the same time that you're becoming the hologram. You're already the future, the past, the present that's gone through it, but nevertheless, there's a choice for your being to move into what it is you're moving into. So you do that. So it's this idea of a pre-existence that you move yourself through into this existence. What do you think about that idea?
I guess it would be, I could think about that if maybe we were like born out of fucking eggs without any parents, just magically popping. That's what I mean is.
So you don't like the idea of saying that you've consented to be on this planet, like a soulful consent, not a biological consenting.
Well, the thing is, I don't remember before I was born. If I did, I would definitely be a theist, right? And that's just it. Maybe I just lack imagination, right? Because I don't remember before I was born. I don't even remember the first couple years of my life, really.
Well, I don't either. I don't claim to know anything before I was born. I'm just throwing out fodder.
Yeah.
And I want you to listen to my fodder, man.
I don't know. My brain can go out there. It can't fall out on the floor where I can fucking play hockey with it.
Well, I think it needs to go. You got to play hockey with it at some point. I think that's a something that everybody should do is flop their noggin out on the floor. But you got to have a reason to do it. I had a reason, but you don't have reason, so.
I did mine in my 20s, man. I mean, shit. I kicked my brain around. And the thing is, that's when I shouldn't have been doing it.
So you're saying you fucked off your early adulthood. I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying it sounds like that's what you're saying.
I didn't fuck off my early adulthood. What happened was, number one was I never found out what college was in high school, right? Because I was into science in high school, but I couldn't stay in school, right? The only thing I liked about going to school was doing the machine shop, and, science class and shit like that. I wanted to get paid for what I was doing. But the thing is that I didn't know that college would have been something that I would have been into, right? No one told me, or else I would have at least tried. And for all I know, I could be sitting right now in fucking Chile, running a telescope. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think everybody wonders what information they didn't have that they could have used.
Now, they have a hard job, right? But think about the job. You're traveling around the world, you're seeing the world, and you're going in there and you're taking your shots of your different planets or whatever research you're doing.
Are you talking about Thunderfoot's job?
No, not Thunderfoot. I'm talking about astronomy.
Well, he does some astronomy.
Yeah. You want to see astronomy? Her name is Dr. Pamela Gay, and she is on Fraser Cain's show. She is a real astronomer. She does it for a living. She's very good. She will, if she doesn't know something, she'll tell you. She ain't gonna bullshit you. And even she's skeptical about the holographic universe. She's like, yeah, that's a little bit too far out there for me yet.
Right.
And that's how everyone is, because the math can go wherever it likes. It doesn't make it so.
Well, and that's a tough one there. That's a tough fact that you said.
If we build a bigger particle accelerator, we might be able to test for these different dimensions, right? People don't get this. We wanted to build one in Texas. It would have been 3 times as powerful as the Large Hadron Collider in Texas. So think of how many jobs that would have made here.
At least 5.
Shit. More like fucking thousands from around the world, and then the people to build it. All the machinists, all the electricians, all the HVAC.
Well, they got to run the oil pipe first. They got to run the oil pipe through America before they build it.
Yeah, well, that's all they seem to be giving a shit about.
Yeah, well,
And that's just it. Is that would be a project that would take many years, and you might not be able to get any return on it. So it would be giving to the future. It would be saying, okay, kids, here's going to be something for you to have a really decent job doing in the future. So you're not going to, I mean, I couldn't imagine getting out of school right now and going, I got to go fucking work at Walmart, or I got to go work at, and not to say I haven't done that. I worked at Kmart before. I told you, putting bicycles together. I worked at a pizza place,
okay,
delivering pizza.
you don't need to worry about your resume or your ethos. Go ahead and hop to your point, though, if you don't mind me scooting you along.
I went off the rail.
Well, but your point was that you wanted to teach kids that when they got out of school, they would have something other than Kmart or Walmart to go work at.
Yeah, with something like that, when you invest in like a scientific mission up to the outer planets, you're looking at a good 20, 30 years work, right? Takes 15 years to get out there. I mean, if I had it my way, I'd have robots around every planet in our solar system, and people would have jobs. I would be pushing for aerospace and different ways of getting into space, like the space elevator. You know, better ways like using electromagnets in order to launch shit off the Earth instead of rockets. I thought of an idea of building an electromagnet like the Superman ride at Great Adventure.
You got cut
going
off
like
there.
Into space.
Uh-oh, you're getting cut off. Your mic's not coming through some of the time.
At velocity speed.
Hey, Butch, your mic's not coming through.
Once you had that built, you wouldn't have to launch rockets.
Hey, Butch, your mic's not coming through.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you're all broken up when you talk. I don't know whether or not it's on my end or your end, but you're coming through mighty choppy, which is a little bit disturbing. A's in the room, everybody. A. I can only tell from 10 feet what's going on there with A. Yeah, I like how Silent One there carries the conversation.
The internet connection.
There you are. There you go.
No, I keep muting it because I don't know. It's the internet connection. It gets all funky.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I wanted to be a good person and get through life and think about the different cutting edge of science that we know about, and I like to think about weird stuff. So.
Hey, can you give me the link again to the...
Why do you think
Hey, Silent One, can you give me a link to the Skousen video again?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can drop that in there, that'd be great, because then I'll post it to... I don't know, you didn't send me that via an email, did you? You sent me the other one via email.
Yeah, I sent it to you. I can't send it on here because I'm here as a guest.
Oh, okay. Well, just tell us what the name of it is again. It's his name, and then go ahead and say it again. Leonard Susskind.
The holographic universe.
The holographic universe, and I think I found it by just typing in the holographic universe, and Leonard Susskind showed up, and it's about an hour long.
like I said, only the math goes there as we know it, right? So we don't have any evidence of it yet.
Well, it's interesting
only
to say that. You said that before.
yeah.
If the math goes there, it doesn't mean we go there, and that is kind of the whole idea of multi dimensions, that string theory works in 11 dimensions. We live in an 11-dimensional universe because you can see the perpendicular movement of these waves as they interact with each other. And yeah, I get, well, who am I? I'm a layman on the topic, trying to describe the topic.
Because I can't see anything of a fourth dimension. I can't even point you to it.
But all I'm saying is that string theory seems to be evidence of multi-dimensional universe. It seems to be an evidence of that. Just because the harmonics are
yeah. And also, here's
the harmonics.
Well, string theory has multiple points of evidence, for it. Like the quantum backs that up, that there might be extra dimensions. We don't know.
Well, right there, let me just stop you there.
I guess
let me just stop you there.
We'll find out in the future if it.
If there's higher dimensions, other dimensions, is it possible that there's any intelligence that lives in those dimensions in your mind? Is it possible that that's the case? And then do we lose them? If there's higher dimensions, is it possible that there's intelligence that is affected in that case? And he's out. Looks like Amendum's in.
We don't even know if there is higher dimension yet.
Well, I'm just talking about the string theory.
Yeah, and he's going to be like, this is just total bullshit talk.
Well, yeah, but, he can say what he wants to say.
Yeah, string theory has... this is what's weird about, the multiple dimensions, right, is that it has not only one field of science pointing in that direction, but it has a couple different areas going. This is where it's going. But the thing is that doesn't mean it's going to go there.
Yeah.
I would have to...
Very muted mic there.
Sorry to experiment in your room. How's that?
That's too loud. The other one was too soft. Gotta go a little lower. Go lower.
How's that?
It's all
Testing.
it's very flat sound and it's pretty loud.
So how's this? Any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yes. That's better.
It's a loud mic on the laptop, so it's kind of stuck. If I don't yell at it. Anyway, well, whatever. I mean, the math is not really math, I would argue, in the first place. So, and wouldn't it sort of be a giveaway that the math works out to 11 dimensions? Wouldn't that kind of indicate that, well, maybe there's some structure in atoms or in subatomic particles that has 11 features to it or 11 angles to it, like a 11-sided star or something? And wouldn't that be a better way of describing the phenomenon than dimensions?
Well,
I mean, you could come up with, theoretically, you could come up with 11 anything, and all of a sudden now the math works. I mean, it just seems kind of hokey to have constants that are just created like that. But they do that all the time in quantum mechanics. As soon as something doesn't come out exactly right, they just add a little bit of a constant. They just say, well, times 0.768. There, now it
Right,
works.
right, because the math surrounds it then. The math encompasses that idea.
Well, and also the math isn't really math, is my point. I mean,
Of course it is.
it's a probabilistic study. I don't even know if you can call, how can you call a probabilistic rounding math, you know, in a way? Because if you go back to Feynman, I mean, Feynman will tell you that, well, yeah, to do this really right, you should work out every single permutation. You know, like you should sit there for the rest of your life and roll the dice and see how the dice come out. And there's a shortcut in that process. But in a way, they have to do it for the math. I mean, Feynman diagrams are basically an illustration of the fact that they still have to mechanically do the math. You know, you mechanically have to draw the line. You know what I mean? So they can get the square of the vector.
Well, that's interesting coming from you when your theories require higher math descriptions and you're saying the math has to be done. That's like a critique of your draft science.
I don't think so. I'm still conceding that you have to do math, but I'm not saying that, you know, quantum mechanics and math are not necessarily the same thing.
Well, I'm just saying string theory.
Yeah, you know, see, these are really convoluted, and there's a lot of presumptions built into these maths, right? I mean, you got the cosmological constant, you know, some tiny, you know, insanely tiny little number they've created to explain the expansion of the universe. But they just created the damn thing.
Well, it's just like a model, just like anything else.
Yeah, I'm just saying that their model has obvious rust and, you know, the screws aren't very tight, and that's all I'm saying. As soon as somebody starts talking about what you can make happen with the math, it sort of doesn't mean anything because the math is already, you know, like the projector that's bouncing around.
Right, the math is...
The picture looks like maybe isn't, you can't take it very seriously. So I'm just saying, I just don't see any point in making models that don't have any shape. So, you know, structure.
Well,
you know, I think you go simpler before you get more complicated.
But if
the simple part.
The way they think about it's like the universe is just soap bubbles that are expanding.
That's the way they want to think about it.
Well,
The point is that there's a lot of other explanations for those facts.
That it's speeding up.
Well, I'm sorry. That doesn't, you can't, you know, this is where it goes all wrong. It doesn't show any such thing. They have evidence of something. They have the number 11. They are deciding what 11 means, okay? 11 doesn't have to mean that, shithead.
Right? We can see it at all. All right? We can see it.
See what? You're the idiot talking about fucking sky elevators, okay, fuckhead? So don't be telling me what the fucking reality is.
The light is shifted to microwaves, and we can...
It doesn't fucking matter. Light shifting doesn't... I'm not going to argue with a fucking idiot, okay? It doesn't matter. There's reasons why things happen to things. You can say it's like a soap bubble, okay? That's stupid.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the fucking worldwide telescope.
Show me anything in the universe that behaves like a soap bubble except for a soap bubble, fuckhead. Show me a galaxy that's behaving like a fucking soap bubble, retard.
And it's expanding.
Yeah, fuck you. It's not necessarily expanding, which is necessarily could all you have to do is slow an atom down, right? You put it in a space where if it ages slowly, it will look like it moves slower.
Yeah, and suffering isn't always a bad. How about that model?
Well, that's just idiotic because we invented the word to describe things that are bad. So it's just fucking stupid. The word suffering was invented to describe things that aren't fun, not things that are fun.
Well, I'm just saying you're still basing things on a model. And if he's using a metaphor for the model, then he's more than welcome to use the metaphor for a model in my room. Soap bubbles is a fine
Exactly. I'm
description.
just saying that's fine with me, but obviously we're not going to have a compatible conversation because I'm going to be sitting there talking to some drooling 5-year-old, and I'm not going to waste my time doing that.
Oh,
So,
he's hardly
yeah. Happy trails, whatever. I'll come back some other time.
that. Okay. He was almost inviting me to give him a kick.
Yeah, well, the bitch of it was I was watching the video of the fucking evidence as he was telling me I was wrong, the dumb fucking retard. So don't fucking call me fucking stupid. I'm watching the fucking video here.
In this new Copernican revolution, our universe is not necessarily the only game in town. That there could be other soap bubbles. That soap bubbles can...
And like I said, it's not proven. Only the math goes there so far, and quantum physics, right?
Right. And where I wanted to bring the discussion was in just that, how far math describes anything in reality, and when does it become an art form that is strictly abstract, that does not have a relationship to the physical universe? Is that such a thing? And it seems like people tend to agree if the math is not there. It was interesting to...
But that's just it. It's not just the math, right? It's the cosmic microwave background radiation that we saw, we predicted. It was predicted before it was fucking even saw. So someone said, if the Big Bang happened and it really fucking happened, we should see 3 degrees above absolute zero. And sure enough, when they put a fucking microwave when they put the microwave up there, it had to be off space, off of the planet. We saw the fucking shit. I've got it right in front of me. Then we've got an even more update of the universe. I think it's 300 million years after the Big Bang, we can see the fucking leftover microwave shifted light. It's so far shifted, it's off of infrared, it's past that into microwave. And the people that found it weren't even looking for it. They were looking for a way to communicate, and they go, what the fuck is this hiss we're picking up with the radio thing? And we're picking it up from everywhere. Like if we point the telescope at New York, we get the hiss. If we point it at the dark part of the sky, we get a hiss. And it turned out to be the Big Bang. They won the fucking Nobel Peace Prize for it. And it's not just an imagination. It's there. We can see it. He just chooses to ignore the information. And could it just be our light horizon? Yes. The universe could go on. It could just be as far as we can see. But we see this.
Yeah, see, Gary likes to take speculation and dialogue and critique it, and then he doesn't critique his own, and ends up, I think, making an ass out of himself without really seeing that he's doing it.
Well, the thing is that when I bring something up or you know, when I talk shit, like if I tell you and I say, look, this is nothing like the multiverse. We only have a couple, you know, points of evidence that are saying it's only.
It's an idea.
It could. Yes, it's an idea. It could be, but that's not the case with science. Like you got to either come up with some kind of experiment, some kind of way of seeing it, or some kind of way of testing it. And then we can take, and the thing is that the microwave background, you know, like I said, Einstein didn't think, you know, there was a Big Bang, and he did fudge the numbers because he wanted a static universe. He wanted a universe that was not moving around. Because if you've got all this matter in the universe, it's either got to be collapsing or expanding. It's got to be in motion. We're not just floating out in space, you know, doing nothing. We're moving at fucking, you know, thousands of miles per second. I think our planet alone spins at 1,000 miles an hour.
Well,
Right? So if our planet stopped right now, you would go flying forward, whichever way, you would go flying towards the fucking east at fucking 1,000 miles an hour through walls, buildings, everything, until you turn into like a bloody tomato on the edge of the building.
Right, right. Well, and who knows how fast our solar system is moving away from the center of the universe? How fast is our galaxy moving, you know?
Yeah.
That's the relative part.
This is how they know there's extra matter, is our galaxy is spinning too fast, right? So the outer stars are spinning faster than they should be. Like if you look at our sun and you go out to, if you go out another planet, every planet moves slower. With our galaxy, it seems to be all the stars are almost moving the same, except for the ones right by the black hole in the center. And there has to be extra matter there. In fact, it's 6 times the matter that we see. So there's, whatever this matter is that we're made of, there's 6 times more. And it shouldn't be called matter. It should be called energy. It should be called dark energy. Dark gravity. Because it's extra gravity. But it takes 250 million years to go around our galaxy once, our star. And our sun has been around our galaxy over 20 times.
You think so? Is that what they say?
Yeah. Well, you do the Earth is 4.8 billion years now. And then 250 million years, that's only 250,000, so well, not 20 times. It's been around what? 250. Four 250s is going to be 1 billion. So 4, 8, 12, 8, 16 times. We've been around our galaxy more than 16 times. Light's been wiped out on Earth every 5,000 years. Something bad happens. Not almost all life, but this is what I mean. This is the real dangerous human face, right? Is that our own planet wants to kill us.
Our own planet wants to kill us.
Yeah, it does, and it's tried in the past. We've been strong enough in the past, but I don't know if we are now.
Well, speculating about futures is a whole different thing.
All right, here's something. I'm going to make a godlike prediction. All right?
Go ahead.
All right, here you go. Within 100 million years, the human race is going to be put to the test either by a volcano, an asteroid, or by themselves, by either cutting down too many trees, putting up too much carbon into the atmosphere.
I don't even think in 300 years we're going to be recognizable as Homo sapiens.
No, in about 100,000 years, we should be definitely changed, and something should happen in 100. But I'm being very gracious, giving us 100 million, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you figure, the Himalayan mountains are like what, 50 million years old. So in 50 million years, that went from an ocean to the highest mountain range on Earth. So that shows you how fast the Earth changes, and we are on a bunch of plates that are moving, and a volcano is bound to go off in the future.
Well, we might be on a bunch of plates that are solidifying also.
No, they're not solidified.
Not
yet.
No, I'm not saying they're solidified. I'm saying they might be solidifying, meaning the volcanoes that we had when the Rocky Mountains were formed, the plate movement there was was drastic, and it might have been faster a punctuated time as opposed to over millions and millions of years. It might have been more punctuated. It might have been thousands of years that the plates moved faster.
India was one of the continents we know that moved faster than most of the others. In fact, it's moving faster now. It moves at about 4 inches a year.
Yeah, I heard that.
But as the mountains get built, they also spread out. You got to think of the crust we live on almost like silly putty, right? So if you take silly putty, you round it up into a ball, you leave it on the dresser, eventually it flows. Rock, when it gets hot, it gets pliable. And what the plates do is it pushes rock down and pushes rock up, and you get faults, and that's how mountains are built. The land, earthquakes are the plates moving. I mean, I can't believe I know all this. And the thing is, this is what amazed me. This is all basic shit. I'm not smart. This is all basic high school. What, are you smarter than a 5-year-old science?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard most of these bits of information in the past.
Mount Toba, go look at it, right? That's a volcano. That went off about 50,000 years ago. We can date the ash later, right? The hole in the volcano is 60 miles by 20 miles wide. Think about that.
We're well over an hour. I'm going to stop the video for a second. And all I'm going to say is Blue Moon, sentimental suffering.
Yeah, people are going to hate me.
You're dandy. I'm going to put you down as silent one because that's your regular MO. And we'll end it there. Yep.
And the thing is, I don't want Gary to think I hate him and all, but I really wish he had a basic understand. I don't know. He seems to misunderstand what science is about.
Well,
he seems to think it is a belief, and it's really not. If I want to see the plate tectonics, I'll go look. And like I said, I can't do the math, but I can go and look at the videos of them taking shots and showing analogies.
Well,
right?
there's a science behind it, is the thing.
Yeah, and they can definitely show it. And I can understand the way radiocarbon date works, and where they use light now, they do spectral.